Kimi K2 is a new open-source agentic model from a Chinese-based research company called Moonshot. In this video, I'll show you how to get started experimenting with Kimi K2 in 3 ways: using its website, experimenting with it via a playground, and using it via its API. The Kimi K2 model consists of mixture of experts with 32 billion activated parameters, as well as 1 trillion total parameters. You have noticed here, it excels in math and coding. It is an unthinking model which has performance in par with Anthropic's Cloud 3.5 Sonnet. You can use this model for agentic tasks. Over here, you have noticed they have 2 versions. Kimi 2 Base, which is more geared toward researchers. There is also Kimi 2 Instruct for general purpose tasks. If I scroll down further, you have noticed here they have various benchmarks against other models like DeepSeek, Qwen, OpenAI, and Anthropic. Looking at live code bench, for example, you have noticed here it performs better than Anthropic and OpenAI. So you can visit this website to check all the various benchmarks. Over here, they also have some use cases. The model has automatic to-call, so once you use it to perform tasks, it will gather real-time information from the web and other sources. Here they have another example, which is JavaScript Minecraft. So you can visit this website and check all the examples they have here. If I scroll down further, they have a table version of the various benchmarks. So if you search for Kimi K2 on X, there are a lot of conversations around it. This post links to the website I showed previously. If I scroll down, you have noticed you can access it in VS Code. And here there are so many people talking about this, like comparing it with DeepSeek v3. Here is also one example of Kimi K2 Instruct on Hugging Face. There is also another post here for tool calling and agentic loops example. So you can search for Kimi K2 on X and see the various conversations around it. To get started, you can visit its GitHub repo. So this is basically the same content I showed previously on their website. You can experiment with the model in various ways. In this video, I'll show you 3 of them by going to kimi.com. You can use the chat UI similar to DeepSeek R1 or using the chat interface on Qwen. On the bottom left, you have access to tools. If you enable tool search, this will allow the model to get real-time information from the web. You can also enable extended thinking. It has researcher mode. You can also upload documents like PDF, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, text, images, and more. One great feature about this model is tool calling. Over here, you have noticed I added this prompt to create a functional SwiftUI drawing app using Apple's PencilKit and PaperKit frameworks. PencilKit is an old Apple technology. However, the PaperKit framework was just released in June 2025. Since PaperKit is new, if you use the same prompt for other AI models, they wouldn't be able to retrieve information about PaperKit. However, since Kimi K2 has excellent tool calling capability, you have noticed here from the right, it pulls information from WWDC 2025. This happened in June 2025, as the date signifies. So after adding this prompt, you have noticed it added 13 web searches, ranging from the most recent information to other old sources. If I scroll down further, over here it stated how to set up the project. It recommends iOS and iPad OS 18 or later versions. Then here we have the generated code for the various components of the drawing app. And finally, a summary of what it performed and also how to run the code. So this is one way you can start with the Kimi K2 model by visiting kimi.com. If you want more control over the chat interface, or if you want to customize the response from the model, you can use the playground. So you should visit platform.moonshot.ai/playground. I have already logged in, so I have access to the chat interface. In the model panel, you can select different kinds of models. These are all previous versions, so they recommend using Kimi K2, the July 11 preview. So using the playground, you can, for example, adjust temperature, streaming, and more. You have also noticed there, it supports import and export. So I have shown you how to use the Kimi K2 model via kimi.com and also using the playground. The third option is to use the model via its API. So you visit platform.moonshot.ai and go to the docs. The API is available in Python, Curl, and Node. In this example, we are going to use the Python version. So you can copy this code and use it in your favorite editor. One thing you have noticed here is that it is compatible with the OpenAI API. So first, you need to install OpenAI and add its import. So I'll launch Cursor. This is the same code I showed previously with additional configurations. I have already installed the python.env package and OpenAI. So first, you add all these imports. I have stored my OpenAI API key in a .env file, so you use the .env package to load it. So it needs both your OpenAI API key as well as Moonshot API key from the same playground I showed previously. Or if you come to the API, you can visit the console, create a new account and generate an API key. After loading your OpenAI and Moonshot API keys, what you need to do is to create a new OpenAI client and initialize it with the API key and a base URL. So you have noticed here, this is pointing to api.moonshot.ai/v1. Next, you have to create a new chat completion and add the model you want to use. So we want to use Kimi K2, the version that was released in July 2025. The model version is the same as the one used in the API. That is this one. Next, you add a list containing your messages. That is the system message and user message. So the user message is the prompt. So we want to create a beautiful and functional SwiftUI drawing app using Apple's PencilKit framework and the PaperKit framework. So the last configuration you should do is to set your temperature to 0.6. This is what they recommend from their website. And finally, print out the response. So if I expand the terminal, we have an output from the model with the generated SwiftUI code. So these are the 3 ways you can get started with the Kimi K2 model from Moonshot. You can use it via the API like I showed you in the Cursor example. You can visit the console on the Moonshot documentation and visit the playground to use the Kimi K2 model. Over here you have an advantage of adjusting the output of the model. You can also use the web interface as I showed you in this example.